You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 76. What is your relationship with money like? Does the thought of sitting down to do your finances make you cringe? If you struggle with a money mindset, today's episode is for you. Join my guest and I as we chat about what a healthy money mindset is and what daily actions we can take to heal our relationship with money and create more abundance in our lives, which I know we all want. So without further ado, let's get to it. Hey there, I'm your host, Jessica Fergon, and I am passionate about doing the inner work needed to reach your goals. Let me be your guide as we navigate all the fears and insecurities that surface when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Along with my knowledgeable guests and industry experts, I'm here to teach you how to reawaken your life purpose and passion and create the steps to turn your intentions into action. Ultimately, my goal is to empower you to rise above those blocks holding you back and start living a life that you are worthy and deserving of. So come on, it's time to slow down, find a comfy spot with your favorite organic tea, and get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to the Love Unplugged podcast. Hello, loves. Today I am joined by Jenna Black, who is a money mindset mentor and business empowerment coach for visionary and spiritual women based in Sydney, Australia. Jenna is known as the Abundance Queen, having mentored thousands of women to rewrite their money story and turn their soul purpose into an aligned and prosperous business and life. Jenna has been featured in Forbes, The Huffington Post, and countless podcasts for her fresh and modern take on wealth consciousness, women's empowerment, money manifestation, and soul purpose. Her belief is when visionary women activate riches and abundance on every level, then they enrich the world around them, which I just love. Jenna's mission is to guide millions of women to turn their power all the way on, change their money story, and live from a new normal of alignment and abundance. So I can't wait to dive into this with you and learn everything that you have to share. So welcome, Jenna. I am just so honored to have you as my guest, and I'm so excited to learn all about your story, your business, your passion. But before we start, for those that don't know you yet, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Jessica. It's such an honor to be here and to be talking with you today. So as you mentioned, I'm Jenna Black. I'm based in Sydney in Australia, and I have a business where I coach and mentor and teach visionary and spiritual women in business and in life to really rise into their power and to change their money story. So I primarily focus on money mindset, wealth consciousness, but also business success. And my approach is very much intuitive. We talk a lot about manifestation, but also backing it up with the practical action in your business and your life to really step into that next level.
I love this. I can just hear my community just screaming, yes, because who doesn't want to better their story with or their connection with money and, increase wealth and abundance in their life. This is just something that we're all striving for.
Yeah.
So I want to start with your own personal journey. So how did your passion for money mindset and abundance and whatnot begin? Did you struggle with a money mindset in the beginning, and that's kind of how this whole journey began?
Yeah, so that is definitely the case for me. So I left my cruisy job in 2014, and I started my first business at the start of 2015 as a health coach. And I'd studied holistic health coaching, and I was very passionate about it, and quickly got into business and realized that I was very much struggling with booking clients, but also talking about money, talking about my prices. I had so much nervous energy around it. I was in a lot of fear in that space. And I just started to look at it. I realized that I was very much trying to initially solve the problem by looking outside of me, and maybe I need a different strategy in business, or maybe I just need to work harder. And I was trying all of these things to grow my business and to generate more income, and nothing was working. And so I just had a moment of realization that I've been looking outside of me, and I need to start to look at my beliefs around money. That was when I came across a couple of different money mindset courses, which really helped me to dive into unpacking my own money story. And I started to recognize that I had so much scarcity and fear and limiting beliefs around money from my childhood and the way that I grew up. And it was really holding me back from having a relationship with money. It was holding me back from speaking about money. And I just had this scarce energy around money and this fear-based energy around money. So I definitely struggled myself. I found myself at one stage in my business having no money. I was completely broke. I was about to go and get a job and go back to a 9 to 5, but something in me just told me, no, you can do this. And it's about really taking back your power and looking at your own money mindset and doing the work around it. So it all started with that and my own experience of starting to see the shifts that happened in my life and in my business as I started to look at my belief system, as I started to look at my energy around money and then back it up with the action. And I really started to see things happen. And I got really excited about that as well. It was like, wow, this is incredible that the answer was within me the whole time. And I just was so lit up by my own experience with that. It just became a passion of mine. And I, over about a year and a half, just really dove into the topic before I actually pivoted in my business and moved into business coaching with a money mindset focus. And I've been doing that since 2016. So, yeah, that's a little bit about my journey up until this point.
Awesome. It fascinates me so much that all these things that you are surrounded with or exposed to in your childhood can have such a deep impact on everything in the future. Like for me, I grew up with a single mom who had children. So obviously money wasn't abundant in our lives, you know.
Mm,
We didn't have issues getting by. I mean, I always had food on the table and a roof over my head, but I always picked up on the scarcity mindset
mm,
that there wasn't enough. And then I saw my mom start her own journey in trying to unpack all of these beliefs that she had and practicing manifestation and whatnot, and seeing her change her money story and start attracting all these different things in her life, and seeing how our life has changed with all the work that she did internally from where it was to now where we are today.
wow, that's incredible that you got to witness that in your own mum. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, even though I know that it's possible and I've seen her do the work, I also need to do the work,
Mm,
right? Like, just because she's in a better place than I am, I still witness that scarcity at such a young age that I still feel like it's in me that I now to also do the work so that I'm able to move my own story, my own life in that same direction.
yeah, absolutely. It is an individual thing for sure.
So, how does one know that they are out of alignment with their relationship to money?
Yeah, I think it starts with really tuning in and understanding like what's going on internally on an individual basis. Like, do you feel fearful with money? Is it a topic you don't want to talk about? Is it a topic or an area of your life you don't want to look at and confront? So that was a big warning sign for me when I was doing this practice initially. Was I had so much fear about even opening my bank account. Like that gave me anxiety. And so I think it's really about looking at your approach to money and how comfortable you feel with it. And if there's any sort of scarcity or fear, then that's definitely one of the key signs that you can be out of alignment with that relationship.
Gotcha. How important is self worth in relation to the money that we're attracting?
Yeah, it's such an important topic. I mean, self-worth is everything, really. It's when I teach about money mindset, I am often telling my clients it's actually me teaching about your worth, because a higher self-worth equals a higher net worth in my world. I really believe that the more that we can own our divinity and really tap into how worthy and valuable we are and how valuable our work is if we're in business to the world, and really tapping into that, getting connected to that, it creates this powerful energy that allows you to show up and to take back your power and to change your money story. And so, yeah, your self worth in relation to money is huge. And I think that it really starts as well. Like I've had such an incredible journey with my self-worth. I went through, as a teenager, I had severe depression and I was really at rock bottom. And so when I look at my own story, it's been such a long healing journey. But when I work with my clients around self-worth, I always just tell them to just start with a daily practice and to just start small and to know that it's a remembrance. It's like a returning to soul to remember that we are worthy just as we are, because we get taught in the world, or we take on this belief that we're not, or we get taught growing up that maybe we're not worthy or valuable. So it's really an unlearning process as well. A lot of this is about unlearning the beliefs from childhood, as we were talking before. A lot of it comes from childhood. But yeah, the more that you can start to develop a practice around your self worth, and one of the techniques that I love to share is doing some mirror work. So actually just standing in front of the mirror each day and looking at yourself in the eyes and actually really just taking a moment to look. So like, how often do we do that? We're usually rushing around or putting on makeup and then like rushing to the next thing or whatever it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so just that practice of like meeting your gaze and just saying, I love you, I accept you, I forgive you, you are worthy, I am worthy. And just having that conversation with yourself can be a really great starting point. And that was what I did in my journey. I just continued to meet myself each day in the mirror and just have these conversations with myself. And it started to develop something in me where I started to take back my power over what I was told growing up, and started to recall that for myself. Yeah, and so I really see, like, when it comes to money, that the more that you own your worth, the more confident you are in, if you're in business, in talking about your prices or your value, but just in the way that you show up for your life. It's a totally different energy than if you're coming from a space of, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy. So
Gotcha. When it comes to a mindset, what is the right mindset to have? Like, what does a healthy mindset look like when it comes to money relationship?
yeah, I think, a healthy money mindset is really, it is a relationship. That's the most important thing to remember. It's a relationship between you and money. Often what we get taught around money is not our beliefs. It is our beliefs about, it's the beliefs of our parents, it's the beliefs of our parental figures growing up. A lot of our conditioning and belief systems around money is formed ages 1 to 7. And as kids, we're like sponges, right? We're just like
Mm-hmm.
seeing, hearing things. We make it mean something that it's not. Or we even get told, money isn't for us, or wealthy people, we're not from a family of wealth, or we'll never have that. We take that on as our truth. And when we are starting to develop a healthy money mindset, it's firstly about looking at that stuff, looking at our money story. That is the most important step. And I call it your money blueprint. It's really this blueprint of your life up until now, all the beliefs that you have, all the actions, all the patterns that you have around money. And so to bring it back to a healthy money mindset, that looks like primarily taking back your power over your own money blueprint and choosing to have a new relationship with money where you define what that relationship is and you define what these new beliefs are. And even going deeper, it's about understanding how money can help you in creating a life of your dreams, but also to give back to the world, and using money, feeling empowered by money. And so it's ultimately about knowing that you get to decide what that relationship is. Because so often we're listening to what other people's beliefs are, or even in society, if you think about it, like, most people would view money as a negative thing, or that it's abused, or it's evil. We hear money is the root of all evil, or all these different things that are just ingrained in us. And so it's about unpacking all of that, unlearning all of that, and choosing that new relationship and choosing the new beliefs that will move you forward. And so when I work with my clients, it's all about kind of blocking out the outside world for a while and just coming back into you and money, and choosing what that relationship looks like.
How do you choose the right beliefs?
Mm,
Like, how do you select the ones that are truly aligned with what you need?
yeah. Well, it's firstly about understanding what those limiting beliefs were that you first had in place. As I said before, the money story is so important. That's the starting point. And if someone listening right now is like, where do I start with that? I just want to touch on that. It's about asking yourself questions like, what was I taught around money growing up? What did I witness around money growing up? Because often it's not what we hear, but it's the behavior that we witness with our family, in our household, and then we adapt that as a belief. So, starting with that, because once you have your limiting beliefs or your limiting patterns around money written out, and I recommend writing it in a journal, on a piece of paper, on a journal, you can look at that. You can kind of step back and you say, okay, if that is what has been guiding my life up until now, if this is what has been my conditioning around money, what is, like, well, firstly, does this feel true? I love doing this exercise, tuning in, like, does this actually feel true from a soul perspective? Because often these limiting beliefs, it's just our kind of human reality here. It's what we think is our reality, but it's caught up in fear and our ego. If we step back, connect back into our soul, and we look at that and we ask, is this true? Often we just hear, no, of course this isn't true. Part of us understands and knows that we live in a limitless universe, that we live in an infinite universe, that we live in a state of expansion. And we've just kind of lost connection to that. Because from that space, I think then you can step back and you can say, well, if that is not true, then what does feel true? And this is how you start to identify those beliefs that feel really connected. What does feel true to me? If I were to choose a belief that I could use to create anything in my life, what would I tell myself? Often what we're telling ourselves, often what we tell, like, maybe our best friend or someone that we're like really cheering on, what have we started to tell ourselves those things? Right. And so it's really about understanding, like when we talk about money affirmations and money mantras, which is really this belief work, it's so individual. I mean, when I work with my students, I give them a whole lot of money mantras to work from, to use throughout the day if they desire. But I always recommend to them to, like, really choose the ones that resonate for them. So if one of the beliefs is, money is the root of all evil, well, what if you changed that to money is a powerful tool to heal the planet, right? It's like swapping it to the exact opposite almost. So it's really about, like, the best way to do that is to firstly understand what the limiting beliefs are, and then tune in on a soul perspective. What would I choose if I could choose anything? And starting there and starting to write them out as well, and having those front and center in your life so that you are reprogramming your subconscious mind over time.
I love that. Now, you talked about beliefs and you mentioned a couple of limiting beliefs that you've come across, but I'd love to hear some more examples of what you've worked through with your own clients, maybe in your community that you've seen, to give people some examples of what they might discover themselves.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, some really common ones is that we have to work hard for money. That's one that I hear all the time. That was one of my biggest ones, because I grew up in a family where that was the norm, put in more hours to receive more. So definitely this belief that we have to work harder for money. Another one is that money is limited, that I think often we can get caught in this, again, this kind of 3D construct that we live in the world here, where we think that money comes from the bank, or it comes from our boss, or it comes from our clients. And what I love to teach on is stepping back and understanding that money is an energy. Money is actually an infinite resource. It's a universal resource. There's no possible way that it's limited. There's no possible way we can use it all up. Because I think often when we have that belief that money is limited, as women particularly, we feel guilty because we feel like if we receive, we take from someone else, right? That we're taking from this pool or this supply. Another one that I see is that, money changes you, or that money will change you for the worst, right? And there's all different ways that belief can show through, but I see this so often. It's like this resistance to receiving more money, because we feel like on the other side of that, on the other side of receiving more, it's going to mean something negative. And that could be that I'll be judged if I'm wealthier, that I will turn out like someone that I know that had a whole lot of money and then maybe lost it all, or that I am going to lose it all, or that I won't be able to maintain it. So there's so many different things that can come through. It's really interesting when I work with people around this, because there's always a new one that can come through. And I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't seen that before. But it's such an individual thing. But yeah, definitely they're some of the common ones that I see that are really holding us back from stepping into that next level.
You mentioned that we have to work harder to get more money. And I want to kind of touch on that because, I mean, even I felt that, right? Like if I want to attract more money, well, then I need to put in longer hours. I need
Mm,
to work twice as hard. I need to put out, you know, whatever X amount of content more than what I'm doing right now.
mm,
Like, how do we avoid that mindset? How do we avoid that behavior of putting in all that extra work and spinning our wheel and
yeah.
trying to attract all that money when that's the wrong mindset?
Yeah. Oh, it's such an important question. Look, I always recommend coming back to looking at how we manifest in general, how we actually receive, and how manifestation works. What's so easy, all the things you just said, is really stuck in the masculine action of I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to work harder. The masculine action does obviously really count, but when we talk about manifesting and just how really we create our lives, there's also this feminine energy. And that's where a lot of us are disconnected. We're disconnected from this feminine energy, which represents our frequency, our vibration, our magnetism. It's a receiving energy. So when we have this belief that we have to work harder, firstly understand, well, why do I feel that way? It's often because that's been our money teachers in our life. Our money teachers are usually our parents, primarily. They taught us that, or we took that on as a truth. Um, and okay, well, does that feel good that we have to work harder to receive more? Likely not. And that's why a lot of us like kind of avoid it, or we create a blockage to it. So it's really about coming back into building this practice around your feminine energy and the masculine energy. The two work hand in hand. It's a duality between the two. So what that would look like on a practical level, like say in business, is practicing more of this connection to your soul, this feminine energy, which is all about creativity and having time in your day to just play or do something that brings you joy or fun, like dancing, moving your body. It's this receiving energy. Um, the more that you show up as you and just like have that element of empowerment and self-worth, that is a receiving energy. That's when you're like naturally magnetic. So when you talk about like generating more content, well, what if you got to create the same amount of content but you showed up in this empowered energy? Your community feel that. So it's all about like kind of looking at your masculine and feminine. That's where I recommend starting. And also then on a practical level, working harder for more money is, if that were really the truth, then most of the world would be richer, right? Because a lot of people are just working, working, working in a physical sense, more hours, more time, more stress on their bodies, on their family life, on everything. So we can look at that holistically and actually understand, okay, well, we're not really seeing the results of that being a truth. So in terms of like practical things as well, understanding that the more money you make, okay, well, you've now got more money to outsource, to build a team to support you. You've got more resources to actually learn how to manage money. And I think a lot of it is a fear that I won't be able to manage it, right? And so I'm going to have to work harder and work harder to keep spinning my wheels. And it's all about just acknowledging I can learn. I can learn. I can learn how to manage my money. I can learn how to build a team. I can learn how to build passive income or systemize my income. There's all different things that go into it, but I think that looking at that masculine and feminine, how that works together, is a really important part of it. Because I know that some of my bigger months in business have been where I've done less, but I've been very intentional in what action I've taken. I've been very aligned in the action that I've taken, and then I've just enjoyed myself, right? I've had this energy of gratitude and play and spending time with my family, in mixing in with working. And that's that feminine receiving energy with the masculine action as well. So I hope that is clear, but yeah, it's really about looking at those two together.
I love that you talked about that. I've heard about the masculine and feminine energy before, and it impacts so much in your life if you're just remaining in one of those energies, right? Like
Mm,
if you're just always in masculine energy, it has such an impact on so many areas of your life. And I know that I personally live in that masculine energy so much more than the feminine. And that's something that I'm working on changing. But I've noticed in so many ways that it's blocking my creativity. I get frustrated with myself because I'm not able to come up with ideas. I'm not able to like get into that playful zone and kind of take time for myself and like enjoy life and all that stuff. I'm just constantly doing, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you mentioned that it also impacts your money mindset as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not always about doing more. Sometimes it's about being more, which is that feminine
Hmm.
energy. So yeah.
I love that. Now, you talked about a process to manifest money a little bit, and I kind of want to dive into that and what that looks like. Are there daily actions? Are there behaviors that we need to put into place? What does that whole process to manifest money and change our story look like?
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So I think with manifestation, the most important thing is to be clear on exactly what you desire. Because often what happens is we desire something and it might seem like a big amount of money or even just a big vision for our life. And then automatically we think, oh, I can't do that. So I'm going to settle for something over here. I'm going to go for the watered down version. So the first thing is get clear on what you desire, get really clear. Like I recommend thinking about your dream day in like a year's time or even 10 years time, like going there and writing out the exact details of everything that you experience and feel and where you live and the money that you're receiving and how you're giving back to the world and just everything. Like get into it, because most of the time people are just disconnected from the vision. And so that's the first step in manifestation for anything that you want in your life. Secondly, it's about then saying, okay, well, if this is what I desire, I need to take responsibility for my mindset, primarily my beliefs. I need to take responsibility for what I am choosing to believe, because our inner world, what our inner beliefs are creating our external reality, and it is driving what we call into our life. And so it's about doing the work that I mentioned before around like your conditioning, your money blueprint, really understanding those limiting beliefs that have led you to this point in your life, and then deciding that this cycle now ends with me and this is what I choose instead. And taking like really big responsibility for your mindset. I say to my clients, like, be the bouncer of your own mindset. Like, don't let any fears in. And if they come in, you just explore them, right? It's like it's okay to like dance with the fear and to work with it, but to be conscious of what you are choosing to tell yourself. And then it's about really building that into a habit in your day. So I I really believe in starting off your day with abundance, with an energy of abundance. And abundance is a holistic thing as well. So when we talk about abundance, it's not just money, it's really an energy that you live in. It's being abundant creatively, with your relationships, with everything, with your purpose, all of that. And so it's about building these habits in your day that make you feel like the most abundant queen version of you. And having a morning ritual is really powerful, whether that's journaling, meditation, yoga, walk outside, whatever that looks like for you. But starting off the day in that energy creates a ripple effect. And then one of the things that I love to help people with is then creating these anchors throughout your day that bring you back into this space of abundance. So identifying like 3 or 5 things in your day that are kind of like the normal human things that we all do, whether it's brushing teeth, making coffee, getting dressed, eating lunch, whatever it might be, just the things that are just habit to us, and choosing those as your new abundant habits. So whenever you are, say, putting on your makeup in the mirror in the morning, you use that time to affirm the new beliefs that you are choosing. You use that time to set your intentions. You use that time to feel into how abundant and grateful you are for your life. And really just having these little pockets throughout the day so that these normal human habits become a new habit. And that's the easiest way to remember to do them, because it's like, okay, I'm going to do that anyway. So I know that I'm going to use that time for money mindset practice. Or I'm going to use that time to build my self-worth. So that's a really powerful, like, practical tool that you can use to just kind of like have these little pockets in your day, because this is all about, like, in terms of manifesting, it's all about building your subconscious mind, but also raising your frequency and your vibration around money. So that's a little bit about the mindset piece. But then in terms of your frequency, it's what I said before, like dropping into your feminine more, like doing more practices to connect inwards. Turn off social media for a while, drop into your journal, sit on the floor, do some yoga, ask yourself, like, what do I need to know right now? What is my soul guiding me to do? What does my soul want me to know? And really tapping into looking at how abundant you already are, because we can't desire something more if we're not already grateful for where we are, for where we are currently, I should say. And so it's all about starting with that gratitude practice as well. That's really important. Um, and yeah, and I think, this is such a unique thing as well. So in terms of like building that daily practice, it's about identifying what works for you and what feels really good, but choosing this as an ongoing thing as well. Money mindset, manifesting things, it's not something that you just do overnight and then you're done. It's a lifelong practice. It's a daily shift into this new normal and this new way of being. And then another great like little just tip for money specifically is have a money date. Actually choose like once a week or once a month at least to have a money date with yourself and money. Again, it's a relationship. It's like you and money are in a relationship. And so it's all about, having a money date where you open your bank accounts, maybe you track your money, maybe you look at your money, maybe you just do some money journaling or write down some new beliefs and just kind of get aware of your money situation on a practical level, but also from a mindset perspective and an energy perspective as well.
Okay, I love everything that you just said.
I know I shared a lot there, but
What I love even more is these little tips that you have about like these regular routines that you have, whether it's brushing your teeth or whatnot, using that time to also work on your money mindset and whatnot, and affirmations and like all these things and your new beliefs and whatnot. I think that's such a great idea because I mean, I'm standing there in front of the mirror, whether I'm doing my skin routine in the morning or at night, or I'm brushing my teeth. And that's a good like 2 to 5 minutes that
mm,
I'm looking at myself in the mirror, but having kind of a post-it there to remind me to, okay, let's look at myself in the mirror and tell myself these new beliefs and, work on, XXX, whatever it is that I'm trying to work on at that time. But using that time to better that relationship with money, I think is so great.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, and use it to better your relationship with money and also your worth. Like as I said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, like the two go hand in hand, and such a beautiful practice to do, because often even if you do that in the morning, say you're like, okay, I'm going to use this when I do my makeup. How often do we just stand in the mirror and think about all the things we have to do that day, and then you get into the masculine and you're chasing everything that needs to be done, and you're starting your day off in this way where it's like, I'm not enough right now, I need to do something. And so these
Mm-hmm.
practices are really beautiful for just being grounded and just saying, I'm worthy right now. I am safe. I feel supported. I'm abundant. And then going deeper into whatever mindset work you're doing at the moment. So, yeah, it's really, really powerful practice.
And I love the money date. I'm going to start doing this myself and scheduling it because if I don't schedule it, it doesn't get done.
Well, I'm the same. I've got my money date scheduled. So, I'm with that.
Once a month, I think that's such a great idea to kind of go through where you're at currently with your finances, use that time for journaling, maybe doing some vision work, using that time to just focus
Yeah.
solely on money.
Yeah.
I love
Powerful.
that. Now, you talked a little bit about tracking money and, having a money date and whatnot. I kind of want to dive into the best way that we can track our money goals so that we're actually achieving them.
Yeah. Well, it's about, again, having that clarity on what exactly you desire. And I think the most important thing to remember is to keep that number or that amount front of mind, but also there's this detached energy to it. So, again, going back to that masculine feminine with manifestation, it's about like the masculine is like, okay, well, this is my goal. This is my money goal. The feminine says, I'm okay whether that happens or not. I am abundant. I am safe. I am worthy. I am successful exactly as I am. And when it comes to tracking, it's about, of course, like doing the practical to maybe like log your income every day. So when I first started working on money mindset, I made the decision for 30 days to look at my money every single day and to write down what came through and what went out and to just get comfortable with money flow. And with that comes inspiration. Okay, well, maybe I didn't receive that much today. That's okay. I'm okay. I am worthy. I am safe exactly as I am. But what am I inspired to do now to generate more income? And then that can guide you from a really like safe feeling space or an abundant feeling space to show up and to serve in your business or to give back or whatever it looks like. So to kind of bring it back to the practical, definitely have that number, but make the decision that that number does not represent your worth, right? It does not represent how worthy you are. You are worthy regardless. And have fun with it, because often we have this money goal and it's like this big scary thing and we make it means it's like so serious if we don't meet that goal. And so it's about potentially choosing a deadline if that works for you. I mean, that usually I love kind of setting a monthly money goal each month. But if I get to the end of the month and that hasn't come through, or maybe I've earned more or less, I'm okay with that too. Okay. So see what I'm saying? It's kind of like that detached energy, but it's also you're having that money goal there, but you're also in that energy of receiving and like I'm fully abundant and wealthy and prosperous right now, and I'm worthy right now, because that energy is so powerful and magnetic for things flowing to you. And then it's about when I first was doing this, really like having that practice of looking at my income every day. I do always recommend tracking your money, but now I do it once a week because I've been doing this for so many years. But if you're new, do it daily. Do it daily. It can take 5 minutes to just open your bank account, log down what you've received, log down what's going out, and just get used to that and comfortable with that. And then it's about tuning in each day and kind of moving the needle forward on that money goal. You know, how am I guided to serve? I think often what happens when we are maybe coming from a space of scarcity with money and really wanting to make this money goal happen, we're very focused on us and how can we get this, right? Like, how can I receive this? And that energy is quite restrictive. So, what we want to do is hold the goal in our mind and know that we're okay regardless of whether it happens or not, and then ask ourselves each day, how can I give back to my community? How can I contribute to the world? How can I serve my clients? What am I excited about? Like, the energy is like this excited, fun, giving energy. And that's really powerful for manifesting money through. Um, so, yeah, it's about staying focused, I guess, more on the impact that you're making rather than the income. The income gets to be like a fun outcome of you being in your purpose and you giving back to your people or serving in whatever way that looks like. And then do the practical steps of actually tuning in. Maybe having that money date is a great idea once a week to actually keep a track of it as well.
I love that. Now, I know that you help women in business as well. Have you ever come across a client that was ready to quit their regular daytime job or their full-time job and pursue that side hustle? And if you did you have to work through anything with them so that they were fully prepared to do that jump?
Yeah, I've definitely had some clients working with me that have been working a job and then stepping into business full time. And I think the biggest thing has been their mindset. And that's why so much of my work is the inner world, the inner work that we do,
Mhm.
because that really determines so much of your success. And again, it's that feminine aspect of like working on you first rather than feeling like you need to do more to make things happen. So I think a big part of like moving from a job to a business is obviously number one, the mindset and being confident in who you are and your value. But then on a practical level, actually understanding what is it exactly that you are here to do? Who are you helping? How do you help them? And why? The why is super important. I think when we're clear on our why and our mission, it drives everything and it keeps us very aligned. Um, if we're not connected to why we're doing what we do or what the bigger reason is behind it, or the legacy that we're here to leave in our life, it's very easy, particularly in the online world, to get distracted and to sign up for all the programs or whatever it looks like, go down a rabbit hole on social media because we're not in our power. So when I've worked with clients in the past that have quit their job and gone into business, it's been about building a really powerful daily practice for them to stay connected to that vision and for them to then get really clear on what are their daily non-negotiable actions. This is something I love to teach on too, like getting super clear on what are the top like 3 things per day that will actually move your business forward. And it usually is coming back to showing up and giving value, social media content, all of that, rich value, like high value content, like we're creating here, like a podcast is powerful. Or and then in addition to that, sorry, is also selling and promoting and actually actively showing up and allowing people to work with you. And then the mindset is obviously like a big part of that as well. So getting really clear on those non-negotiable actions, because often I think what happens with business is you get super overwhelmed, but actually success in business is quite simple. Like it's simple when we boil it down to the things that really matter. And it's about being diligent in what you say yes to and what you say no to. So yeah, I think, I've definitely seen it be a success. I've done it myself and it's so possible. And I think anyone listening that's in that space where they're working and they want to step into that side hustle, like start with why your work is so important to you. What is that purpose that you're here to share? And build a mindset practice around that each day so that you feel empowered and connected to that. And then get clear on what those like top 3 or even 2 actions are that actually move the business forward.
I love that. That's such great advice. So you talked about journaling, which I want to dive into with you because I suck at journaling. I'm not going to lie. So how do you start a journaling practice? Like, is it different for everybody? Because I've been seeing, everybody's kind of going according to prompts, or they're just kind of freestyling and just talking about how they're feeling and stuff. But like, what's the best way to find the way that works for you? Like, what have you seen in your community?
Yeah, it is definitely individual, like anything really. I think you've got to apply it to your own energy and the way that you like to work and what feels good for you. But one thing I would recommend is starting with this technique that I use called writing your reality. And what that is stating everything as if it's already happening. Because my practice of journaling, particularly in one of my courses, Journal to Abundance, I teach this. The practice that I use, it's to manifest your vision. So that's the intention of it, is to use journaling as a tool to reprogram your mindset and manifest in what you desire. And I use the technique writing your reality as basically just stating everything as if it's already happening. And it's this process of writing it down that over time your subconscious mind is accepting that as truth. Our subconscious mind just accepts what we tell it, by the way. It doesn't have a filter. So it doesn't filter like, oh, that's true, that's not. It just accepts what we tell it. So journaling is this connection to reprogram our mindset. And that's how I like to personally use it. And so an example of that would be like I am statements. Okay, I am earning money with more ease. And even if you start to write that down and maybe you don't really believe it yet, you can say something like, I am on my way to believing that I get to earn more money with ease, right? So you can use these kind of bridging statements. And then in terms of that technique even deeper, sometimes I'll just free flow it. Like you mentioned, like the free flow can be a technique. And I'll really paint the picture of me in my dream house, which is what me and my husband are working on at the moment in purchasing and renovating a house. And I'll describe the house in detail, like I'm there, like I'm walking through it, and just really diving into all of that. And so the other techniques that you can use, obviously, is like using it for how am I feeling right now? What has been going on in my day? More of like a diary entry. Diary entries are kind of different, obviously, to journaling. I feel like journaling is more about like stating what it is that you desire and really calling it in, whereas diary is like reflecting on things that have been happening and learning from that and working through fear and stuff that comes up. So it's all about, I guess, choosing what feels good and starting with what feels good. And then if another thing as well, a lot of people get stuck with like, oh, I don't want to sit and write. Well, you can actually either type it if you want, if typing feels good. Sometimes I type or sometimes I write in my paper journal. And then also you could speak it and record yourself. So if you're using the technique like writing your reality, you could do speaking your reality. So it's all about like grabbing your iPhone or your phone and hit record and just like record yourself speaking like, I'm in business it's a year in the future. This is my day. I'm walking through my day. This is the work I'm doing. This is the impact I'm making. This is how much money's coming to me. Like, and really like paint the picture, paint the vision of it. And you can listen back to that recording or you could just record a new one every day. So that's something I've been playing with lately as well. So there's all kind of different techniques of journaling, but yeah, I think it's about starting with what resonates and trusting, just like allowing yourself to write when you feel inspired.
That just completely changed my mindset around journaling. because I was always stuck on the diary technique, right? Like
Yeah.
where I'm supposed to write about what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and diving deep into that, which that to me isn't fun, right?
Yeah.
Like I love the fact that you also talked about, writing what your vision looks like. What does your future look like? What does your house look like that you're building? Things like that. That to me like sparks so much more joy because I love planning for the future. I love detailing exactly what a perfect day in my world would look like in the future and what I'm striving for. So that to me kind of just speaks to me so much more
Mm.
than that other method at this time.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm the same. I love it's really about like tapping into that identity and the version of you in the future and then writing as if you're already there. And that's that key of reprogramming your subconscious mind, raising your frequency as well, and really shifting your identity so that you start showing up as that person. Because powerful thing is you'll do a journaling session and it inspires you and it lights you up as you're writing this future version of you. And then what do you do after that? You're like, all right, well, what would this version of me be doing today if I were already that version of me? And it's like, what actions am I going to take? How am I going to give back? How do I just show up from a space of abundance and peace and prosperity because it's already all here, it's all available. So it's a really interesting shift from the diary to the journaling. And so definitely, I love that that's helped you. I love that that's kind of awakened a new passion with the journaling.
Yeah, and you talked about journaling or journal to abundance, which is something that you offer. What does that entail? What does that offering include?
Yeah, so that's it's a self-study course, and it's just a really beautiful way to get started with the techniques that I've just shared. So I share with you how to do writing your reality, how to use journaling around money and abundance specifically, and there's a whole lot of different. I think there's 100 prompts in there as well that you can work off. So different questions that you can ask yourself, or affirmations that you can write down, and it's really about building a practice, a daily practice around journaling because when I think about my abundance routines and practices over the years, journaling has been the most consistent one that I've used. And I think it's for most people, not everyone will resonate with it, but I see with my clients, like probably 95% of people love to use it as a tool in crafting your mindset. So that program is really just a guideline and different trainings that you can go through to use different techniques around journaling and to just get started. Really, it's like a really great starting point.
I love that. Now, I'm sure you have other programs that you offer as well. So I'd love to talk about all of them that you offer us and what we can expect from them as well.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity to speak about it. So, I've got a few signature programs that I run. Rich Rituals is one of my ones that I ran. It's always a tongue twister to say it, Rich Rituals, and that's a program that again is a self study one that you can purchase. I'll probably be running it live again in the future, but that's a really great starting point for building the daily practice, building some of the practices that I've shared today, embodying your future self, showing up as that identity that you desire to step into in your business and in your life, and doing it through rituals, through daily practices that you can really build into your daily routine. So that's a really great one. I also run Spiritual Selling Queen, which is for any of my business women listening that are spiritual, kind-hearted, visionary women in business, and maybe selling feels really uncomfortable or fear based. That's a program that will just unpack all of that fear and help you to see selling as a service, and as a way to give back and really overcome any blockages around selling. And it's not just a mindset practice, but it's backed up with a lot of the practical action to take. And then my signature program that I run is Money Queen. So I run that a few times live each year. I've just launched it this year for the first time, and I'm just taking my students through it for the second time now. But that is a beautiful new program that I am so excited to continue to run over many years. And that's really my signature work. Everything that we've discussed today, it's all about money mindset, wealth frequency, stepping into your purpose, and really creating a dream life. Not just as a money queen with your money, but as the queen of your whole life, I say. So that's my favorite program to run. It's very fun.
Yeah, I love that. Those sound amazing. So I'm definitely going to check them out. And my last question, because I think people should connect with you after this, where can we connect with you? Where do you hang out the most?
Yeah, so I'm definitely on Instagram all the time. So that's at jennablack.official. And it's the same for my Facebook page, but Instagram's probably my social media home. And then my website is, I've just changed website. So my new website is jennablack.co. And that's where you can find links to my podcast as well, which is the Jenna Black Show, and all freebies and everything on there as well. So yeah, come say hi on social media though. I'd love to chat with people listening on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jenna, for taking the time and for sharing such amazing advice on how we can better our relationship with money and create more abundance in our lives, and giving us such great tips on daily practices that we can put in place. I know so many are going to benefit from this episode and take away things that they can apply in their own lives today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jessica. It's been an honor. I appreciate it.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.